Former President Trump slammed Dr. Anthony Fauci and Dr. Deborah Birx on Tuesday for their handling of the pandemic in its early days. The former president joined host Maria Bartiromo by phone during her broadcast of Fox News Primetime, and they discussed how his administration addressed the pandemic at its start, as well as how Fauci and Birx made nothing but mistakes in the advice that they gave him. Bartiromo began by mentioning Biden's primetime address on March 11th, in which Biden claimed that the pandemic was met with silence for days and weeks and then months. Bartiromo noted that Biden made no mention of Operation Warp Speed, the Trump administration's partnership with private companies to quickly develop and distribute a vaccine. Bartiromo then asked the former president how he felt about not getting any credit from the Biden administration. Quote, "So when you go to the virus issue, we did a great job. We get very little credit for it. I closed the country far earlier. Dr. Fauci and Birx and all of these people that frankly made nothing but mistakes, they didn't want to do it. They didn't want to close it to China. I closed the border to China. I closed the border to Europe, Italy, and all of these countries that were having tremendous problems long before they wanted me to do it. If you look at Biden, he didn't want to do it months afterwards, and then ultimately he admitted that he made a mistake in saying that. If I didn't do that, we would have had hundreds of thousands of more lives gone." Close quote, Trump responded. The former president didn't go into any other specifics on the job performances of Fauci and Birx in his interview with Bartiromo, other than their positions on China. The Trump administration announced the China travel restrictions on January 31st last year, which Fauci reportedly opposed. Birx, on the other hand, praised the administration's decision. Dr. Deborah Birx announced her retirement from the White House in December, and Dr. Fauci currently serves as chief medical advisor for President Biden. Narrator's note: if Fauci and Birx made nothing but mistakes, why didn't President Trump fire them? Why did President Trump give Fauci a national platform? Day after day after day, Fauci stood behind the White House press room podium, addressing the press and the American people. Trump should have put a stop to that, but he didn't. Why? On October 24th, 2020, in my upload, "What's worse than a disaster for the American people?" I answered that question. Listen. Ask yourselves why the president hasn't kicked this guy to the curb. After all, on Monday, October 19th, 2020, during a call with his campaign staff, President Trump called Fauci a disaster. He stated that every time the infectious disease expert makes an appearance on one of the networks, there's always a catastrophe. But there would be an even bigger catastrophe if you got rid of him, the president stated. A bigger catastrophe for the president, right? A bigger catastrophe for the president's re-election campaign, right? But what about the American people? The American people that Trump swore to serve? And what about the Constitution that he swore to protect and defend? The President of the United States continues to put his own interests above those of the American people. The President of the United States continues to willfully subject the American people, their lives, and their livelihoods to the mercurial whims of an individual that he considers to be a disaster, because firing that disaster would be a catastrophe for Trump. Screw the American people. Additionally, during yesterday's phone interview with Maria Bartiromo, President Trump recommended that his supporters take the jab. The former president stated in part, quote, I would recommend the jab. And I would recommend it to a lot of people that don't want to get it. And a lot of those people voted for me, frankly. It's a great vaccine, and it's a safe vaccine." Close quote. Interestingly, former President Trump's Tuesday phone interview came 2 days after Anthony Fauci appeared on NBC News Sunday, stating that he was disturbed that Trump supporters aren't taking the jab because they're skeptical. For Headlines with a Voice, this is Nancy Morgan Hart.